Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tayte, and bringing on Sam for another episode of Reboots From Hell. And you may notice by this lovely logo at the bottom right of the screen, today marks the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. Yes, it's been 20 years somehow since the films come out. And we are here to celebrate it by rebooting it, which is hopefully not a horrible irony. It's come out of love, not anger, unlike sand. But that being said, how are we all doing this fine day?
Yeah, doing good. Back again to completely rearrange and reorganize another Star Wars film. Yeah, I'm keeping some picks from the last one. So please go and watch the previous video. Same with George as well. With some of his picks are going to be staying the same. But we got some more characters to cast here, which have bigger roles in this film, and I'm just very excited to see what people's reactions are to some of them.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I'm very excited. I can't believe it's been 20 years since the film was released. It's scary. It's very scary. But no, I think based on The Phantom Menace, there's a lot of interesting choices, and there's bound to be some interesting choices here as well.
Absolutely. Everybody at home, if you're watching, comment along with us. Let us know who you would pick, who you would cast in a reboot of Attack of the Clones. And I guess we can explain the logic of this. We don't have a fully formulated plan. But if you've never seen an episode of the show, this is only the third ever one. So we're still fairly new to it. We had a couple of changes last week on The Phantom Menace. But the core is we have to live in a scenario where a film we love has been rebooted. And we're picking modern day directors, composers, cast, whatever it needs to be, rather than saying we're doing it again in 2002. This is 2022. Yes, please, it's 20 years. And I really like their anniversary logo. I'm going to add that in there. Lucasfilm's not marketed it too much. I know we're going to get a panel at Celebration. But it's a really nice logo. And it'd be nice to actually do some 20th anniversary merch because there's nothing compared to when Phantom Menace came out. That's my little dig. But again, subscribe, share, comment, all that lovely stuff. There's a lot of Star Wars things happening at the moment. Obviously, the main reason we're doing this, not just for the anniversary, but Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out in less than 2 weeks. And that's something a lot of people are very, very excited about. And again, paying respect by recasting Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's going to be an interesting thing. But Tayte, where can people find us to find out about our videos and what is coming up?
People can find us absolutely everywhere because we do have a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of stuff in the lead up to a certain Star Wars celebration that's going to be taking place very soon. We also have loads of stuff going on with our current retrospectives and everything that's going on also on the channel with some fresh reviews also coming in as well for new releases. But you can find out everything that we're going to be releasing on these links here. They're down in the description as well, but I'll read them out to you. It is Twitter at cinema_savvy. Just go onto Facebook, type in Cinema Savvy, you'll find us, and go onto Letterboxd as well, .com/cinemasavvy. Also go down into the link in the description to pick up a t-shirt or a jumper from TeePublic. It is very cold today in England, and this jumper is keeping me very warm.
Definitely. So everybody, please do that. And I said, next week we will be back with Revenge of the Sith. We're doing these every Monday, a prequel each week. And kind of, Sam, jumping to you as well, because yes, we're doing Reboots From Hell, but 20 years of Attack of the Clones thing. When we spoke in December for Spider-Man, we spoke for ages about Star Wars. I know it was quite up in your ranking video as well, which you joined us for. But very quickly, before we go into things, just as a 20th anniversary celebration on the spot, what's your favorite scene from Attack of the Clones?
Oh my goodness, I really hate that you put me on the spot for this one. But I think it has to be the asteroid fight. I would say. I think mostly just because of the sound design. I think back to when I first saw the film in the cinema, and to hear the seismic charge was it. I felt like I was being blown back in my seats. Like it was just one of those moments that you don't really fully expect. The lack of music, and suddenly have this gigantic sound, completely unique to Star Wars so far. It was just brilliant. And so I think if I think of something that stands out for all the right reasons, especially as well, it has to be that scene.
Tayte, I'm going to put you on the spot as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. The first scene that immediately comes to mind, and I guess it's not really the scene that does most of the work here, but it's the kind of the first scene that made me kind of convinced that I could believe the love story between Anakin and Padme, and that's when Across the Stars plays and they go out into the stadium. I think that for me is like that always gets me kind of like, wow, this is, you can actually believe this relationship, you can actually feel kind of the emotion in that scene, but that's mostly charged by the music in that.
No, both very good picks. It is. I just can't believe it's 20 years. I said this about Phantom Menace, but it's just. I think Attack of the Clones, because I mean we're all similar ages. I was 6 when. Wow, I was almost 6 when that came out, and I remember that more than Phantom Menace because Phantom Menace was a toddler, like going to the cinema to see this, sticker books, merch, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going to be weirder for Revenge of the Sith when that hits 20. God knows, 3 years time. But yeah, if we're going to kick off this episode, so similar to previously, we're going to go over the concept. So we're rebooting this, and like the Phantom Menace, we have got 10 actors, 10 characters that are going to get rebooted, recasted, alongside the direction of the composer. I'm going to bring them up on the screen for you all now. So of course we've got Temuera Morrison playing Django Fett / the Clones. So Christopher Lee as Count Dooku, Ian McDermott as Chancellor Palpatine, Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, Frank Oz voicing Yoda, of course, Sam Jackson as Mace Windu. We've gone for the Jesus look for Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman as Padme and Anakin, played by Hayden Christensen, and of course, George Lucas directing and John Williams composing. And Tayte mentioned it earlier. Some of us have done these last week. So again, do check out that video. That was a lot of fun. And obviously there's a 10-year age gap, so certain characters, we left some out. We could have done Mace Windu last week, but we want to have a nice split across the 3 episodes, and this is the way to do it. And like last week, we'll start with the director, followed by the composer, and then we'll go through that cast in the order we had the picture. So, Sam, I'm going to come to you. Rebooting Attack of the Clones, who have you gone for and why?
Okay, so initially I was thinking more fresh directors, and I think I did have Bryce Dallas Howard as a potential choice, but then I knew that she was on a list in the Phantom Menace, and I was like, well, maybe I should switch something different. And I kept racking my brain over it, and then I was like, you know what would be really, really, really interesting, just if Steven Spielberg did it. And I mostly thought of it from the point of view of he's very good. I mean, obviously he's very good across the board anyway, but also because he focuses a lot on family and about, usually it's, a father and a child, but, he's done, a lot of those parents and children's things. And I think it would be interesting to actually see what he would do in terms of the Anakin and Shmi, relationship, the relationship between Anakin and Palpatine, Anakin and Obi-Wan. I just think, Anakin's so core to all of this, isn't he? And I think his relationships are super important for, actually getting him to eventually becoming Darth Vader. So I think to get such an experienced director's, point of view on that, I just think would be really interesting. And also just, I'm sure every single, set piece would be gorgeous and would just fit the theme. And, he's got a long-standing history with George as well. And, I just think, it'd be really interesting.
I'm with you on this. I mean, I think he almost did Return the Jedi. I know that's a PGA DGA issue that happened of that, and he supposedly helped out with Episode 3, and it's kind of not sad we've never had him on Star Wars, but like I would love him to get because he's so like born. I think, as you said, it's the George Lucas connection, isn't it? And everyone knows how good a composer he is. Plugging our Spielberg retrospective, everyone go check that out. But no, I think it's a perfect choice, and if it doesn't happen in a film, I would love them to try and get him on an episode of one of the TV shows at some point in the next few years.
Oh, that's a very good shout, actually. I feel like that would be... Yeah, I think with Spielberg, and this is what we've kind of learned going through the retrospective, his films have this inherent magicness around them. I don't know what it is about him as a director, but he's able to just bring out childlike wonder from any situation or something that anyone can attach themselves to. And you put that in kind of into the Star Wars universe, and you've got yourself a sure done winning deal. Doesn't matter kind of who you've got as actors in the film, it will just work because it's Spielberg. And I think he's matured over the years to the point where now, like, give him a Star Wars film and it would just be an all-time epic.
Yeah, no, 100%. And following on from that, we'll head to mine. So we'll do Sam, George, Tayte, similar to how we last week with Dave. So I've gone for one which is this came to me really late, actually. I'm surprised, but I've gone for Christopher McQuarrie. Now, for anyone unfamiliar with him, actually looks better than George Lucas in that photo, doesn't he? Never realised that. He is one of the best action directors working right now by a country mile. Obviously, Mission Impossible films are what he's most famous for. I think he's helped write the new Top Gun film, not direct it. But those Mission Impossible films, go out and see them, please, if you haven't. They are unbelievable. And it was a bit weird because I was trying to think of all these names for director who could do it. And I really looked into Attack of the Clones, like, hold on. Actually, if you look at the action in Attack of the Clones, a lot of it is actually chase sequences. There's not, bar the arena and the I guess the first battle after on Geonosis, almost the entirety of the action set pieces are people chasing other people, which really surprised me. Like, you got, as you said, mentioned earlier, the asteroids chase. You've got this, of course, Coruscant chase. I guess you've even got them chasing Count Dooku. So many chase sequences. And, I'm used to seeing Tom Cruise running and catching up to people in helicopters chasing things. And I just thought, action-wise, Chris McQuarrie is going to be the guy that he can do. Yes, there's a lot of CGI in Star Wars, but he could probably shoot a really good sequence. And the beauty of this Mission Impossible films is you can actually follow and track the action. And I think he's been good at the dramatic side of things in those series too. So he was my sort of left field choice that I'd never thought of, and it kind of makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, he's very good as well with working with charismatic characters. Of course, he's worked with Tom Cruise on the Mission Impossible films, and you could see kind of that kind of character role translating into, I mean, you could take two routes here. You could put it into Anakin, or you could put it into Obi-Wan, and have kind of that relationship build up over the film. But I think it's a very good choice. It's not one that immediately would have come to my mind, but when you kind of actually think about it, it'd be very good for that action side of the film, and I think that would work.
And has he done all the Mission Impossible films?
He's I believe he's done not Ghost Protocol, all the ones after Ghost Protocol, and I think he's the only director to come back and do more than one, which is because they had a different director every time until Brad Bird did the fourth one, so 5 onwards. So he would have done the last 4 by the time it finished. I think 8, 9's going to be the last one. 8, I keep forgetting what number they're up to now. But yeah,
no, because I haven't seen the recent ones. I've only seen one of the Mission Impossibles all the way through. I can't actually remember which one. It might have been Ghost Protocol. But no, I mean, based on the fact that the series is still quite popular, it's not really had a downward slump or anything as far as I'm aware, in the wider scale. So yeah, I think it sounds like a good choice. And I think, as you said, this I didn't actually realize there were so many chase scenes in this film. And I think based on what does happen usually in Mission Impossible films, it's quite a good fit.
Definitely.
Okay, on to my choice. Now, as you'll remember, my first pick for my first film, for people who haven't seen the first video, you should leave now or cover your ears. But my first pick was Joseph Kosinski, who was very kind of action focused and would be good to kind of build the world. Now we have the world built, and George will like kind of the angle I'm taking this one. I'm going with my Last Jedi pick. I'm going with my director who has done very, very good films beforehand, has worked with sci-fi, has done some things, is grounded, but is definitely going to take it in a very different direction as to what was done before, and that is Bong Joon-ho. I feel like a Bong Joon-ho Attack of the Clones would be phenomenal. I think he would really go into kind of the character of Anakin and really work with that. I think he would really go into that side of things, especially with Shmi's death and kind of everything that happens there. I think it just the entire encompassing fact of the film. The action maybe wouldn't be as kind of big and bombastic as the previous film, but I think it would be the film where we really take an introspective look at the characters and really build off that. I think as well, because he's done a bit of action with Snowpiercer and he's helped write the Snowpiercer series as well, that's what you could take from that side. But if you look at the film Parasite and look what he does with characters there and building tension, that translating into Star Wars would be really, really good.
I am with him. So I've not seen many of his films, but it is. I think when you said there, it's the Last Jedi pick. You're getting on someone that isn't the. I mean, Rian Johnson did too much before. He did Loop, so at least it had it there. But Bong Joon-ho's the interesting one where that's like when you get, it's a bit like Raimi and Marvel, isn't it? That's when you bring on your alter to take the crack at the franchise. And what I'll say of Attack of the Clones is this is the, I don't say more dramatic of the 3, but like it's got the most relationship building to do. Is that a fair term? I don't really know if that even is a term.
Yeah, it could go one of 2 ways in my head. It could go very, very good and be like Raimi kind of coming back in, or it could go Chloe Zhao and with Eternals. That's the other side of it. It could be a bit overcomplicated and a bit crowded.
Yeah, because it's based on his filmography. I mean, it doesn't, you would not, well, I mean, I certainly wouldn't expect him to do, especially Attack of the Clones as a film. However, based on, what he has done, I think there's certain elements that you wouldn't necessarily think of within the film itself that can actually be heightened and, really be brought to life a bit more. And I think especially, the actual love relationship as well. So maybe, you know, not focusing more on the action, still having that, but actually, you know, building these characters up. And I think at this point in the saga, it's really important that you have strong characters at the end of episode 2, because episode 3 is so dramatic and everything completely flips on its head. You kind of need to have that built up. So yeah, I think he could probably do that.
No, definitely. And with that being said, let's move on to our composers. And this is going to be a really interesting one, actually. Sam, tell us who you've picked.
Okay, so I mean, this surprisingly didn't take too long to think about, and I don't know what made me think, but I went with Bear McCreary, who's not too well known in terms of film, although he has, you know, composed for Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I know he's composed some other films as well. But I think he's mainly known for his work on The Walking Dead, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Battlestar Galactica as well. So I think with what he does, I think he's very good at, you know, tense music, and I think definitely the dramatic action music as well. I think that's all really good. Whether or not he could do, you know, more of a love theme, I'm not too sure. But I would definitely be open to seeing it, hearing it. But his work on, I know him mostly from The Walking Dead, and I think he is so good. I think especially in this film, there's a lot of tension. You know, there's a lot of, you know, is Padme going to be assassinated? You know, what's happening on Camino? I think there's all these like slow pieces that he could do for it. And I think it really intrigues me. And I think because he's not such an obvious choice as well, I just thought, oh, I think, you know, he could probably do it. So yeah, I've gone with him.
I mean, I think this is great because and this is on me, I'd only known he'd done Godzilla. I haven't seen the pilot of Walking Dead and a lot of other things. So I was like, oh, okay, like we've got a really like outfield choice. But I think that's what Star Wars as well is. When they bring on composers, they might not have done so many big franchises. It lets them do their own thing, and I think that's like if you look at the Disney era, the composers come on board and it's very much do what you want. You know, again, you had Giacchino on Rogue One. They didn't say you must copy the Episode 4 soundtrack. It was like do a Giacchino score, do Garanson, complete opposite of the film score, and it's been really exciting with Star Wars composers. Yeah, I absolutely love that. Again, I'm not familiar with his work, but as an outside choice, it should be like that.
No, I completely agree. I have listened to the music from The Walking Dead, and it is very good. It almost has sometimes a little bit of a Western feel to it, which I think Star Wars has been missing for a while with some of its work. It's coming back in with stuff from The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, but at the same time, those elements could easily be brought in there. And yeah, I think I could see him working with Spielberg to kind of make a score. I think it's very difficult to think of Spielberg and not think of, you know, John Williams working with him and stuff like that. But at the same time, those two elements would marry up quite nicely, and I could see that working.
No, and going with mine's this is the one that was inevitable. I'm just going to get out there. I've just gone with Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of people know I'm going to sing his praises in this. And here we go. So I had Giacchino in the first one, play it safe, bringing the familiar sound, someone that can do it. And then when we're getting the time jump, because 2 and 3, they're almost like a two-parter out there. I know you have the war in the middle, but there is so much carryover. I want Zimmer locked in for the Revenge of the Sith with this. And the reason why, it's not even because of Dune. It's actually Chris McCry. I kept thinking of Mission Impossible. Now, I know that Hans Zimmer did Mission Impossible 2, and I know that Lorne Balfe has done the recent ones, which is one of Hans Zimmer's proteges. So I thought, oh, do I go with Lorne Balfe? I was like, no. We'll bring in the big dog. We'll get Zimmer in because he hasn't done Star Wars yet. He's done everything but Star Wars. And I just think for the insanity, the space chases, again, Coruscant, he'd have that distinct sound. We could bring in the Brahm for whatever we want. The lightsaber duels, you know, he could do it. And of all the work he's ever done, he is long overdue a Star Wars project. So give him Attack of the Clones. And he can do relationship themes, which, you know, some of his best works, I think, in Last Samurai, which is like the most un-Hans Zimmer score if you put them all together and told someone to listen.
Yeah, he's one of those composers who's worked with pretty much every genre. You could easily see him fitting into it, and he would bring the tension with that score. He really would. Yeah, it's one of those picks where it's just like, yeah, of course he should do one at some point. It's just when's he going to do it?
Yeah, he's so well established. I mean, he's never really put a foot out of line. He's still pretty consistent to this day. I mean, the most recent film that I've seen of his is No Time to Die, and to say that he had a shorter time to do that as well, then I think he managed to bring it all together and make it probably the best Bond soundtrack in years. So I think it is a very good choice, a very safe pair of hands, and I think whatever he would create, we would all love and enjoy.
Yeah, 100%.
So for my pick, I've gone with another well-established composer, and I think there's a lot I could say for Thomas Newman as a composer, because he's done so much over the years. He's done war films, he's done love films, he's done pretty much every single genre. I didn't know this until I started researching him. He's been nominated for 15 Oscars and never won. Like, and you look at the list of films that he's been nominated for. So let's go with 1917, Bridge of Spies, Skyfall. He's done Wall-E, he's done Finding Nemo, he's done American Beauty, he's done Shawshank. There's so many different films there where you could take elements of that and put that straight into a Star Wars film and make a complete score for it. I think he would work, and also I think he would work with Bong Joon-ho as kind of that extra bit of tension coming in and just working as a very good kind of director and composer pair.
Yeah, I quite like him. I mean, another Bond composer, I guess, because I hadn't even clocked that. I definitely prefer his Skyfall soundtrack. And again, it's his working relationship with his directors. He tends to stick to the same ones, and I think it'd be interesting. I think for this film, again, the romance theme, the love theme, I think he'd be a stronger hand at that than some of the others. And I think that's what you need, is that
also
this score isn't. Well, this isn't the bombastic one, is it? This is more the the setup for Revenge of the Sith, even the score alongside the other stuff, and I think I could see it.
Yeah, similar to you, George. I mean, as soon as Tate said Thomas Newman, I just thought of the love theme. I thought, I feel like that he could get, pretty perfect. I've heard enough of his other work to kind of know that he could probably, do the different other elements of the soundtrack as well, of the score. So yeah, I think it's interesting because I would just wouldn't have thought Thomas Newman for Star Wars, but I think it's just another really intriguing option. I wouldn't say no to a score from him. I would be really intrigued by that. And yeah, I think he could potentially set up motifs that could be carried over to Revenge of the Sith.
No, absolutely. And with that in mind, that is our directors and composers done. As I said, we're still finding our feet with this, so people think it's too sudden, let us know. We'll figure stuff out. But Star Wars, you have to cast a composer. I'm not going to go too in depth. I want cinematographers. That's just taking the mick. But if we're heading into the cast, we had the list earlier. I won't bring it back up, but we're going to go through in the order that we did it at. Find posts on our social media if you're curious about who is going to come next. But we're going to kickstart with Django Fett / the Clones, Tamura Morrison. Obviously, each of us have recast him, and this would carry over into Revenge of the Sith. Sam, if you want to mention who you have for yours.
Yes, so for Django, I was a bit unsure of what age of actor to get, and I decided to go for a bit younger, mostly because I thought it doesn't really need to be too old or anything. It doesn't need to be a traditional father type of age or anything. So I've actually gone with Luke Pasqualino, who has been in a number of different, projects over the years. I first was introduced to him from Skins, which I think many people at our age, watched at the time, and he was excellent in that. And basically, ever since he's, been off that show, I think he's really grown as an actor and has done a number of different things. So he's been in Our Girl and The Musketeers, and I think he's had rave reviews in that as well. So I really think it would be good to see him in a different type of character role where he is a villain. Usually he's presented as the good guy, and I think he's got the acting chops to actually turn that on its head and to really give us that. And I think because of his age, he could be very adept to doing some of the physicality needed to play this bounty hunter. And hopefully with less CGI and more actual physically doing stuff in this film, I think he would be a great asset to have, and I think he really takes pride in his work. So that's why I've gone for him.
So I'm one of like the only British people that's never watched Skins, and I know that, like the entire Skins cast though has gone on to do so well since then, which is also really cool because it feels this sounds really weird. And it's all really off point, but you know how like Band of Brothers, like every British actor for the next like 20 years was in that. Skins is like slowly been that sort of modern thing where it's like everyone's been in Skins, and it's kind of cool because we never thought that when we were younger, right? You just thought it's a show that people our age watch. Obviously, not me. Don't know why actually. Everyone says I would have liked it, but it's an exciting. I think you mentioned with his aging as well because that's a big thing. Like I know that obviously they had clones of him, but the one thing I found weird in Attack of the Clones is he has the clone where it's another actor, and it's like, oh, he's a younger version of Django Fett, and I was like, but he still looks like a man. Like you know when they're eating in the canteen in the red, I'm like, why isn't that Tamora Morrison? So aging him down, I think is fine. No issue with that. And again, like he's got the look for it, and playing a bounty hunter, I think he'd be absolutely fine off that.
I remember him from Skins. I was trying to pin where I could recognize him from. I have not seen him in anything since, but I did like his character from Skins. And yeah, I feel like just from kind of watching that, and I can't really comment on his career and where it's gone from there, but even his kind of the way his character was portrayed in Skins, you could tell that he was an actor who could have some longevity for roles. And he's also not a big named actor. He's not like an actor who you wouldn't go, oh yeah, that's like the Clones and that's Django Fett, that's that actor. No, you would go, oh, to a lot of Americans he would be a complete unknown. So that would actually work within this role, I feel.
Yeah, I think that does sort of make it funner with him as well. If I'm going to go to mine, I think mine. Here's an interesting one. So I'm just going to say mine and give my thoughts. I've gone for Manu Bennett. Now, a lot of people will obviously know him from playing Deathstroke in the CW, Flash, Arrow, all that stuff. I lost track. I really enjoyed it at the start. But Manu Bennett saw that I don't think he's ever had his moment on film. If I'm correct, he was in the Hobbit trilogy. He was in costume playing like the main orc. And then they replaced him with CGI in post-production with that awful pale Azog the Defiler, which is insane. And the way I've kind of gone this, obviously, Tamora Morrison now, I don't know enough Maori actors. That's on me, nothing else. But I was like, okay, let's try and stick to New Zealand. And it just clicked. Manu Bennett, like, he was Deathstroke. He is inherently a bounty hunter. And I can picture, and this is the beauty of the Clones. This is why I think the Clones as a concept is so underrated. They're the face, like, they're essentially the people that kill the Jedi. Like, Anakin kills a few, but it is the Clones inherently. And that is the face of someone that could wipe them all out if he wanted to. He's got the builds. I think he could wear that armor, and obviously in this film, he's going to obviously have to go one-on-one with Mace Windu and lose.
Yeah, interesting pick. Because I remembered his run in the Arrowverse for when I was watching it and stuff like that, and I always thought his character was very intriguing on the way he played it, like a wounded soldier kind of thing. And yeah, I could easily see him fitting into that role. I didn't actually realize that he was from New Zealand as well, which I think that would be very good for the character to have that kind of trait and element. I know it's not tied down to the character, but it was nice that it wasn't kind of just another white male actor and stuff like that playing that role originally. So yeah, no, I think that's a very solid pick.
Yeah, I've never seen him in anything, so I have nothing to base off. But I mean, I know that I was thinking if I could get either a Maori actor or someone from New Zealand for this role. I think it's important not to completely replicate what they've done, but I think to just acknowledge what they were doing, and to to just bring a little bit of diversity. And obviously they would move production down there anyway, and so it does make sense. But from based on what you've said, I mean, I think he could be a good fit. And I think for something like Django Fett, you need someone who maybe isn't going to stand out. Yeah, if they're very well known, that is great, but sometimes that can take away from everything else. And because Star Wars is such an ensemble piece, everyone really needs to be you don't need like a lead singer to just kind of stand out, and then you kind of disregard everyone else. So it sounds like Manu would be a good shot.
My pick. Does anyone know who Robbie Magasiva is?
Yes.
You do?
I follow him on Instagram. I do.
Oh my god, you probably know more about him than I do. So he is a Maori actor. He is from New Zealand. He was in one of the Lord of the Rings films playing an orc. He has that kind of build. He is Maori. it's kind of one of those immediate kind of things where you go online and you kind of look up who the potential candidates were who fit your build. And he was in there, and I thought, do you know what? He's about the right age as well. He would fit into that role perfectly fine. And I've seen a bit of his acting on YouTube. It's pretty good. I think he would work.
Yeah, sorry, George, go on.
I was like, I haven't seen him in anything, so you two take the floor with this.
No, so I've actually not seen him in much, but basically when I was looking at actors, I did look at him, and I did, I was thinking, but I actually know him more because he's the brother of Pua Siva, who was one of the Red Rangers in Power Rangers. And I actually, I would have thought Pua unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but I think if he was still alive, I probably would have chosen him. Based because of all the action that he's done, it just, for me, it would have been absolutely perfect. But because I've not seen Robbie in anything, I think he actually had a cameo as Pua's brother in the show, and I think it was Ninja Storm. So I did see him in that, and he was good in that. But because I've not seen him in anything else, I decided to look elsewhere. But I do think it's naturally an excellent choice. I think visually he captures like the essence of what Tamora Morrison has, and I think I think he could really do it justice.
No, fair play. And really quick one, putting everyone on the spot, not too much, but back in the day, I mean, we're younger, right? Yeah. The fact that Django, essentially now Boba Fett, was unmasked, had a face, was New Zealand. That didn't go down well with fans. Not that anything ever seems to with any decision they make, but it was really sad to me because I loved him growing up, and I think because Tamara Morrison, not that he was unknown, he'd been in a few American films, nothing major. I know he was in the one with Pamela Anderson in the 90s, which was in that Pam and Tommy show. But it's really fascinating that people had this massive outcry against him. Whereas we look at Tamara now, obviously they replaced the voice in episode 5, which I'm fine with. We've had Booker Boba. There's so much stuff with them. I think it's great that we got to see of essentially what Boba would become. But the Django Fett stuff, as you mentioned, Sam, it's shot in Australia, so it made sense to get someone more local to where filming was, and I think it's an inspired choice.
Yeah, I can remember this. You kind of get I think maybe because you watch the behind the scenes stuff as well, but there's a distinct feeling that the Phantom Menace feels a bit more British because a lot of it was filmed here, and a lot of the background actors were British, and some of them have gone on to greater things as well. And you can hear with some of the Kaminoans, you can hear the accents there, and you can Zan Wessel, you can hear those accents in there, and I think that's what makes you think like that. But it doesn't, to me, it doesn't hurt the film at all. Tamora Morrison, the only thing I knew about him was that he was in Speed 2 Cruise Control, which I haven't seen in years, but I loved for whatever reason. So that was all that I had, to have on him. But I think he did such a good job, and I think there's so many people, a lot of people our age, who prefer Django to Boba because Django actually, just had more to do. Who's an active part of the story. Yes, Boba did stuff, and I'm not saying that he didn't, but Django just seemed so much more alluring and just had such a presence to me. And I think it helped that he had so many gadgets that you actually saw him use. It wasn't alluded to. You saw him use all these elements of his suit. And I think he just created an iconic character. And I think that's why it's kind of good that he doesn't make it past this film. It's just kind of left at that. And that's it.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's a one and done character for this film, kind of in the context of the prequels. But at the same time, his kind of impact as that character of Django Fett, and then what he goes on to be as all of the clones used, it's fantastic. And he just has, you're right, he has that presence. I can't really describe it, but he just he commands the scenes, but he's not the main focus of the kind of finish, but at least it's cool when he's on there, and it's awesome watching him do what he does. And I'm glad that they went with just someone, once again, who wasn't white and British or white, and it's nice to have that diversity in the cast.
Yeah, and I think as time's gone by, it's made it look better. And when we get to Book of Boba, without sort of siding too far, we get to see with other weapons and seeing his background come into it, which is really cool. But speaking of British people, now we're gonna do one of the most insane things ever and recast not just the fact it's Count Dooku, it's Sir Christopher. I've left the Sarah in the video, by the way. Who has everybody got? So we're going to keep it in the same circle. Sam, who is your new Count Dooku?
Okay, so I was so excited by this, and it was the most immediate choice that I had. It was the first thing that popped into my head, and I did ask George, "Is this possible?" But I decided to go for Liam Neeson. I just thought, based on his age now, all of the experience that he has, I think he's still in great shape as well. If we're basing this off the fact that The Phantom Menace would have just been 3 years ago, and Liam Neeson would have had no part in it, I think he's just perfect for what Count Dooku is. And I think he could probably, because Christopher Lee was a bit older as well, there's some stuff that he couldn't do. I think Liam Neeson could do it. His credits are immeasurable. He's done so much, and I just think he's just the perfect choice to me for this role. It's the easiest choice to make.
I think this is superb. When you messaged me like, "Oh, can I have someone?" I was like, "Who is it?" And you're like, Liam Neeson. I was like, "Yeah, 100%." Like, it's so perfect because I think with Liam Neeson's career, not the fact he was just Qui-Gon Jinn, but like even the action stuff, like he has that presence, and I don't think anyone's going to have the presence Christopher Lee does. But Liam Neeson has a presence to a role. And in terms of what this film is about, I think that's something that I absolutely love. And it would just be so cool to see him with the red lightsaber and doing Force lightning.
I think post Phantom Menace, the roles that he's taken on and the way his career has shifted, I could easily see him being a fallen Jedi and not being brought back in as that kind of super clean role, but someone who actually has fallen to the other side and someone who's like not conflicted, but yeah, it's interesting because that's just the way that your career progresses, and I do think it's a very solid choice for that role, and especially because he has aged up almost into that kind of age bracket that you'd have for that role. And I think he would really command the screen, and I could easily see him like just slotting into that role and really kind of giving both Anakin and Obi-Wan kind of a proper schooling before having a big old fight with Yoda.
Yeah, and just to add as well, I think because Christopher Lee, if you're thinking about kind of, and I'm not going to say stunt casting at all, but I think Christopher Lee had been so well known and so established, he'd done so much in his career that he was kind of comfortable enough to kind of take these kind of like bigger characters who aren't necessarily a massive part of the film, but they're there. In Lord of the Rings, he did similar thing as well. So. To the fact that I think at this point in his career, Liam Neeson could kind of do that. We've seen so many different sides that we know he could kind of do that. And because he's, so refined, I think his visual could be very similar to Christopher Lee as well. I just think all the elements are there to kind of like merge what Christopher Lee did and just add what, Neeson's whole aspect to it.
Yeah, the voice is important. This, I think he'd have that voice as well, that presence. And with mine, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the role I struggled the most with today because again, I think because you're replacing Christopher Lee and Liam Neeson's the most like inspired one, I was thinking long and hard. I came to the conclusion of Timothy Dalton, also known as James Bond. Now, hear me out for this because obviously, not just the fact he's James Bond, but with Count Dooku, again, maybe this is due to Clone Wars, which isn't really unfair, but as much as a Sith he's a politician. Like, you need somebody that, why are all these people listening and joining him and becoming separatists and these planets and what? It's like he's got to be as good a politician with the presence as he does at being a Sith. And, I know Timothy Dalton's on that DC show. I don't watch it. And it's really weird that Timothy Dalton's doing this random just DC show in America. Bring him back. Get him in Star Wars. Give him a weapon. I think he's imposing. He's got physicality. I know Bond was a long time ago, and he probably can't move as on now, but not that there are stunts to do, but I could see him facing off against a Yoda. And again, to me, the key of this is the politician angle. And I think Timothy Dalton has that incredible voice when he wants it. And I kept thinking of Hot Fuzz more than anything. I don't know why.
Yeah.
He's not going to do the smile and say, like, join me, great, good, and all that stuff. But there's something about Dalton where I was like, I think he would work. I did have another name. But I've scribbled out, so I've actually forgotten who that name was. I was just checking my notes there.
For me, the first thought I immediately thought of was Doctor Who, his role as Rassilon, where he has a glove that shoots lightning. So that's immediately like what comes to mind, and he is the perfect kind of could play a hero, has played a hero in the past, could easily see turning to the other side. Like, you can easily buy that, and he also looks the part straight away. I think that's a very good choice.
I'm kind of shocked actually that because I didn't expect it at all. However, it makes such sense. And the thing about Timothy Dalton, he's so theatrical, and I think Count Dooku as a character isn't necessarily larger than life, but the character's got so much to him, and we know we don't see anything before this time. We've not had any like series that's shown what Count Dooku was, but I think by looking at Timothy Dalton, who's just such an interesting person, I think you could visualize how he was, and I think you could truly believe that he was a Jedi, and that he kind of was fighting for what he believed in, and that because of whatever was going on, he decided this isn't the way and shifted, and that it wasn't just a switch to the dark side. It was, he had his own set of, morals or way of going about things, and that it didn't align with where the Jedi was going. It's that he had this slow descent. And so I actually just think it's such an inspired choice. It's just excellent.
Thank you. I was proud of that one. I'm not gonna, I don't.
Yeah, no, that's a very good pick. That is a very, very good pick. My pick, I had pretty much from the very start when we were doing our first casting for Phantom Menace, and it was because I was debating whether I had this person as Palpatine or not. And genuinely, it could have worked either way. And in the end, I went for kind of the more thespian for Palpatine, the more kind of politician side, and the one who didn't have to fight as much. And I've gone with Ian McShane for my Count Dooku, who, first of all, brings the Western feel, is a little bit older, but seeing as I've aged up most of my cast anyway, it's completely fine, kind of, and fits in with that. But I think he would be just a good fit to someone who can play that politician role, but also has an absolute mean streak and could play the fighting roles as well, as he has done it throughout his career.
I think it's excellent. When he popped up, and obviously I do think of Pirates of the Caribbean, but you think recently he's still been in Game of Thrones. Not Penny Dreadful, that was Dalton. He was is it American Gods? He's been in a big show recently, and he's got a presence. Like when Ian McShane speaks, then you see him in things. Although he's not an A-list, obviously John Wick, of course.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those actors that's like, as you said, he brings a presence to a role, and you could see him in this. And I think he'd be pretty great for the action stuff and also his Palpatine relationship.
Mm.
Yeah, for me, it's his voice. I absolutely love Ian McShane's voice, and I can just kind of imagine him saying some of the lines that Count Dooku has, and I think you could really believe it. You can really believe what he's saying, and I think much like Timothy Dalton, I think he could, you kind of like believe that, he just believes that the way that he's thinking is correct, and that I think he's got such credence as an actor that he could just bring that across. And do you know what? You're great. You're a great character, and we want to see more of you. But yeah, that's another great choice. I think Count Dooku as a character is so interesting and such a different type of villain for the saga and for Star Wars in general, that I think you've got to have a good actor for that. And I think both of your choices are just brilliant for that.
Thank you. And with this in mind, so this is the first time we've hit the point where we're going to bring in Sam's obviously going to do his Palpatine in a moment, but me and Tayte have already done ours last week, so we'll very quickly bring ours up. We won't go into why or anything. We're literally just going to bring the people at home that haven't seen last week. So I went with Jason Isaacs to play him. Obviously, oh god, no, he's the Chancellor in this one. Sorry, I should have put Chancellor Palpatine. But he's the Emperor in the next film. And for Tate, we have Malcolm McDowell. Why?
There you go. That's his Chancellor.
I don't know. No idea what's gone there. I've got carried away to episode 3. Yeah, we're a film early. So they're who we've gone for. And I said, if you want reasoning why and all that stuff, please check out Phantom Menace. But Sam, who is your choice for Chancellor Palpatine?
I had a little bit of a struggle with this just because I wasn't sure whether to go with someone who was either less established, more established, but I just knew that I wanted someone who could have, show different sides. And so I went with Jeremy Irons. Again, he is an established actor and he's done so many different types of things that I think he can absolutely capture that, kind of like, fatherly figure to Anakin, get that perfectly and have this politician side. But then I think he could absolutely kind of like demolish like the villainous side as well, either with just his eyes. When he's, I can just imagine him in, when he's Chancellor and he's, Jedi there and he makes that side eye look. I can just see him doing that. I can imagine him putting on more of a, an evil voice when he's speaking with Count Dooku at the end. I just think he's got, all the aspects of what I would want in Palpatine as the character. And I think he could do that progression through episodes 1, 2, 3 very nicely.
I think it's perfect. I mean, you mentioned some of his other stuff. I know House of Gucci came out last year, but he gets like one scene where he gets to dress down Jared Leto and he just vocally destroys him, and it's fantastic. And he has such a presence, and you can see him as the politician and as the Sith Lord. I think it's inspired. I absolutely love it.
You can see kind of him playing reasonably good roles. Kind of, you've seen him in recent times as Alfred in the Batman vs Superman thing. You can also see him playing that villain. He of course has that voice. He is the voice of Scar. Of course he can do that villainous voice and stuff like that. You can see him manipulating and just secret whispering into the ear of like Anakin all the way through, and you could easily see kind of how that influence would turn a person. And I think he is a genuinely very good pick for the role.
100%. And with Palpatine in mind, a bit of a weird one. So we'll move on to the next part. Again, feedback, people. This is new, so we've not done the whole jump. We've already casted X, Y, and Z. If that's too quick, let us know. We've got Senator Bail Organa, and people might laugh, saying, why not the next one? We need to fill out 10 people. Jimmy Smits, I think, has created quite a legacy in Star Wars. I think he's very underrated to Star Wars, if I'm being honest. And I think he's fantastic. And I think he is coming back for Cassian or Kenobi, maybe both. I'm sure he's been cast in one of the two, probably Cassian, if anything. But with that in mind, so, he is pretty integral for me. And also, he is the father-to-be of Princess Leia, which people seem to forget. Sam, who have you cast for yours?
So I ended up, I was torn because I actually first thought Diego Luna, and I was like, I don't really want to have another Star Wars actor, in this. So I actually went back to a film that I saw with Diego Luna in it called Y2 Mama Tambien. And his co-star in that is, and I want to get it right, is Gael Garcia Bernal. And I just think that he was so great in that film. And bear in mind that film is probably about 20 years old as well at this point. And so I think he was in his early 20s then. So I think now he's in his 40s. I think he's the right age. I think his acting is very good. I think he's, you kind of get that similar type of, diversity in background, as well, that kind of like look, which I think is super important. But I just think because he's such a great actor, I think he's so good. And I've seen clips of what he's been in since, and I just think he can really play kind of, someone, again, a politician, however, one who is, a bit more, free, who can put up on a certain kind of like attitude around other people, but then, with his personal, his close people, he can kind of like shift. I just think he'd be really excellent. I think he's, would be a great asset to the series. And yeah, I just think visually he would be great too.
So I've not seen that film, but I've heard a lot of stuff about it in the past. But I love it when you message me about Diego Luna as well. So as I don't know too much, but of that image, because you've got to think it's the politician angle with him mainly in these films, and you've got to have that sort of father-esque mannerisms. So I think that is absolutely perfect.
I also haven't seen him in anything, but he has immediately the look that helps quite a lot. And yeah, once again, if you go with that kind of politician angle, because this is exactly what this character is, he isn't really needed for any action scenes or anything like that. He's just needed for that politician. And also, I'm guessing he has quite a good voice to go with it as well, hopefully, that would work with the character.
Yeah, he does. And I think because at the end of the day, it's Princess Leia's father, essentially. So I think you kind of need someone who you want to like as well. You need someone who is likable. And I think Jimmy Smits did a good job of actually just kind of bringing across someone that you want to root for. And I think Gail would do the same.
Mine's a bit of a weird one. So I tried to keep it Latinx for this one, and I have done, but I don't know if anyone's familiar with Edgar Ramirez. Now, the most recent I've seen him in is Jungle Cruise. He was one of the villains in it, and I really enjoyed him. Very Pirates of the Caribbean-esque, that film. Obviously, it's also a Disney theme park ride. But my main approach to this one was, okay, he's got to play a politician, and we know that Bail Organa is like one of the obvious, like, actual clean ones. But Edgar Ramirez has a bit of edge about him, where it looks like he could betray an empire. He looks like he could be an outside source, but also he has that the sort of father figure where he's sort of young enough to raise a daughter, and it's always fascinating because I have never actually not known. I'm sure I've checked in the past, but with the whole Leia adoption stuff, you know, he says, "Oh, me and my wife would love a kid," blah blah blah. Did Leia ever know until Luke told her? Obviously, she did. She knew she was adopted to a point, but it always raised that question of that maternal or paternal, sorry, instinct for this. That's my main reasoning for this, and in this film, it's obviously not as meaty as when you get to episode 3.
I remember him in Jungle Cruise. I actually quite liked his character, the way he portrayed it. So I think that is a very solid choice. I haven't seen him in anything else at all, but I think it would be a good role to kind of build into over kind of time, especially because this one, it goes into not only this film, but if you think about the extended Star Wars kind of stuff, it goes into Rogue One. It also goes into a bit of voice acting from some of the video games. There's loads of stuff that you can go on from this. So I think that is quite a solid choice.
Yeah, I've not seen him in anything actually. So again, I don't have anything to kind of like reference to, but I think he's seems to be the right age. He has a good look about him, and yeah, I think at the end of the day, he needs to be someone likable. I think that is the main thing about this character, and I think especially because he does appear, he appears more. I think, like you said earlier, like you don't really think too much about Bail Organa because in this film he's kind of like a bit player. He is there, he has some lines, but he's not integral to the story. But I think it's good to sow the seeds, and I think he would, I would hope that this character, this actor, would then take on Revenge of the Sith and get to add a few more layers to the character there, and then through the expanded universe, through Rogue One, through everything else. So yeah.
Okay, with my pick, this was pretty much instant. I think I messaged you straight away, George, with my pick. I was like, this is going to be just the person I'm having for this role, because like I'll just say it's LeVar Burton. He's worked with sci-fi before on, shall we say, the wrong side of the tracks. He's worked with Star Trek. But he's also worked with fantastic voice work over the years with Reading Rainbow. He's an actor who just exudes warmth. He's worked with politician roles before. There's so much he's done over the years. He just seems like a really nice guy. I could see him fitting into this role perfectly and just bringing through that kind of warmth, but also that that political edge and stuff like that. Because he's worked in sci-fi films, because he's done a bit of action before as well. When it comes around to it, if he needs to, he's there for that. He's there for that. He was my immediate choice. There was no second option. It was just straight away, bang.
I've never seen any Star Trek film or show outside of J.J. Abrams' trilogy, and he only actually did the first, didn't he? Anyway, poor Justin then after getting kidnapped by Vin Diesel in the Fast and Furious set. Sorry, off point. So yeah, I'd be down for. I think with Bail Organa, it's what you mentioned. He has that presence. It's what he can do with it, and I think I'd be fine with him. He's a little bit older, but I think that could also work to his advantage. Again, you're playing a politician. You don't want to be too young, I guess.
I mean, my entire cast has been aged up. So
yeah.
Yeah, so I actually have seen him in Star Trek, and I think I can absolutely attest for the fact that I think he would bring the warmth there, and I think he has a great voice as well. I think again, no one is someone that I just wouldn't have thought of, but the explanation as to why, I think everything kind of like ticks the boxes. I think he's a great actor, probably underrated actually, in the grand scheme of things, but. And he might be a bit older than what was originally there, but I think it doesn't really matter in this case. I think as long as he has that presence, it doesn't really matter how old he is.
And next up we have C-3PO. So again, similar to Palpatine, we'll go over who me and Tayte did previously. So I went with Toby Jones. Obviously, a lot of people know him as many. I guess we've all gone for the British angle to a point, haven't we? And Tate's gone for Ben Whishaw. Obviously, a lot of people know as Q from Bond. So, Sam, who have you cast for your 3PO?
So we've kind of mentioned some things that this actor's been in before. So we've mentioned Hot Fuzz, we've mentioned Star Trek. So this is Simon Pegg. I was really unsure of which direction to take this because I was originally thinking someone who was kind of similar to an Anthony Daniels, kind of like, kind of maybe a bit more posher, a bit more kind of like the classic way of doing it, of creating a droid character. However, looking at how droids have kind of been made up in recent Star Wars films, and that they aren't the traditional sense. They don't have the traditional speaking voice. They kind of might have a bit of sassiness to them, or they have just a bit more personality outside of being annoyed by everything, or just being incredibly factual. I think Simon Pegg's got so much range in terms of what he can do, and I think he's so funny anyway. And I think 3PO needs to be funny. Yes, he's annoying, but a lot of it is in good fun, and I think the character of 3PO has so many good like moments in this film. Yes, a lot of it is humor on most of the time him being hurt or being thrown around by R2 or droids or whatnot. But yeah, I think Simon Pegg's actually got the chops for it, and I think he would really enjoy being in a. I know he was in The Force Awakens briefly as that character on Jakku, but I think he could add so much to this, and he would be the complete opposite of what that character was. So yeah, that's what I would go for, and I think he would be one of those actors who would stay with a series, kind of like Anthony Daniels has done, and be a part of so many different things.
I love this when it came in, because there was the classic Nick Frost and Simon Pegg sketch of when he played 3PO, and obviously it was the parody in the desert, but it's that like lean British like kind of comedy, but has the voice that can do what needs to be done, and I think he'd be great. I think Simon Pegg, I think he's one of those few actors, and I think going back to Mission Impossible, we spoke about earlier, he's actually been able to make the jump to Hollywood. And that's not a bit unfair, obviously Star Trek as well, but not many actors get big here, especially comedy wise, and then make that jump and get into successful other franchises. And I think Simon Pegg's just like a joy. He's like a fan of film that's British. He's like one of the people you want to see do well, and I think he'd be fantastic. And I know he's had not just Unkar Plutt, but he's the voice of Dengar in Clone Wars. If we're ever going to get that in live action, we'll find out one day. But yeah, you can't complain with Simon Pegg, and as a droid, he's just perfect for it.
No, he's a fantastic actor and a massive fan of Star Wars as well, which always helps. That if you like the source material, stuff like that, to get into your role and character, I think he would absolutely lap it up. I think he would bring the comedy elements. I think if there was any kind of seriousness needed or kind of like information just sent through and stuff like C-3PO does sometimes, and he would do that as well. I think that's a good choice.
Definitely. And next up, we have, for the first time, we have Jedi Master Yoda. I almost said Yoda 1 Kenobi, then no, absolutely not. So a few picks away and a weird crossover. So obviously Yoda, Attack of the Clones. I mean, we're not doing the whole CGI thing. I know that Tayte, you dropped me a message about another lineup with it, but we'll go through who each we've picked. So Sam, over to you first.
Okay. Again, this was another difficult one because I think there's so many different options that you can choose from. At the end of the day, I decided to go for someone who is long established. I think it'd be a safe pair of hands, and I think he could do kind of a similar Yoda voice but make it his own. And I chose Dan Castellaneta, who of course is most well known as playing Homer Simpson, but he's voiced so many other different characters. And I think one of the reasons why I thought maybe he could do it is because he's taken like a character like Robin Williams' Genie, and he voiced the Genie for the second Aladdin film and for the TV series. And whilst not as maybe not as good as Robin Williams, but I think because Robin Williams put such a stamp on that character, on that role, I think Dan Castellaneta still did something that was similar, but it was still fun. And it's one of those things where I don't listen to the voice and it doesn't jar me. I don't go, oh, that just sounds wrong. And he's so experienced. I think he's got great comic timing. And even though Yoda isn't really a funny comedic character, he has the odd line which can really cut through. And so I think he could do it, and I would be very, very intrigued by how he could do it as well.
I really enjoy this because I'm not familiar with all of his work, but when you've got a character like Yoda, like there's so many different routes you could take with him. But then off some of the roles you mentioned as well, it is one of those where you can just jump in. It's about being able to hear it, more so than seeing it, and it's really interesting to see what everyone has accompanying it.
Yeah, I mean, I can immediately see it just from his most famous role of Homer. You can kind of hear that voice coming through a little bit. But I'd say that's a fantastic pick. I think voice actors, especially from animation, who are so well seasoned and stuff like that across the years, have that ability to just mold their voice into anything they want it to. And I know that we are kind of used to Yoda's voice. We know how he speaks, his rhythm patterns and stuff like that. I don't know what the context is that we're going in with this reboot. Are we saying that well, here's a big question here.
I don't know.
Are we saying that 4, 5, 6 don't exist at this point, and we're literally just going, here it is? So we already have had Yoda's voice kind of coming in and established, or are we saying that this is like the first 3 Star Wars films kind of being put on a reboot?
Let's pretend it's the first 3, so that down the line we can do a 4, 5, 6 on this series, which would be cool.
Yeah, that's how I went and looked at it for sure.
Yeah, same, because if pulling other people from elsewhere, because that sort of ties into mine. Because if I'm segueing into mine, my pick, I think, is like meta is a term overused, but mine is the defining meta choice. I almost, well, I didn't go with Tom Kane, because Tom Kane is the safe option who played Yoda in Clone Wars. He has now retired due to an accident, so obviously well wishing him with his health and stuff. And that would have been too easy, just the Yoda being Yoda. I think it's a bit unfair. So okay, I want someone that's done voice acting. I want someone that's been in films. And I was really not worried, but I was thinking about it too hard. I was actually someone with a good goddamn voice that's going to be exciting. And I actually just went with Mark Hamill. So casually said. The reason why is because, kind of going for you to then take, there's no logistic or organizing to how we're doing these. Mark Hamill, I feel it's only the last few years he's had his praise as a voice actor. I think only since the sequels have come out, a lot of people have actually looked into his career and said, whoa, like he's done a lot of voice work in the years, between Star Wars and other things. And he even had a voice in the Clone Wars in the really weird Lost Mission season. It was like the ones that got cancelled but allowed to come out. And he was Darth Bane. And I thought, well, you know what? If you've got the voice of Darth Bane, why not ultimately have him as Yoda, who is the voice of the Jedi? And I think with Hamill, Yoda's the wisest Jedi. How about the original first Jedi from back in the day? So Mark Hamill, simple choice. How's he going to voice it? I don't know. Again, we're actually making this. This is all for fun. But you want a good voice actor who's got a little bit of a history of Star Wars? You can't really look past Mark Hamill, can you?
You have gone with pretty much the perfect pick there. And it does disappoint me, because I did have it suggested to me, and I was racking my brain over my own choice, and someone did say, why not just have Mark Hamill, because he is already established in Star Wars and stuff like that. He can do the voice, and he just has that kind of that ability to do things. And yeah, you've kind of picked that, which I'm glad that someone did pick it, because I think it is the perfect choice for the role.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked again because it was not something I didn't even, again, not even an option, but I mean, it just makes so much sense. I mean, he's, especially nowadays, I absolutely love, where his voice has gone to, like his natural voice. I mean, it has changed, it's aged, of course, there's more gruffness there, but he is still able to, wield it effectively and to change it. So I think as Yoda, I think he absolutely could play in a very similar way as Frank Oz. But Mark Hamill always manages to just do something that is just so unique to himself, and I think that's absolutely necessary for this role. So yeah, I just want to say I think this is perfect.
Yeah, it was.
So I've gone with another rubbery voiced voice actor. I feel like most of us gone with this. I do have the caveat of this one as well. Like George said beforehand, there would be a caveat to mine. I'm going to start off with the kind of the precursor to it, because I thought about casting Andy Serkis in this role, and I wanted Andy Serkis to do the mocap, but I didn't want him doing the voice. I wanted John DiMaggio doing the voice, because he has such a rubbery voice. A lot of people think of him as Jake from Adventure Time or Bender from Futurama, but he's done so much work outside of that. He's done so many different voices, and it's just worked. He's done stuff in Batman the Animated Series. He's done actual TV acting as well to go along with that. Just, he has such a interesting voice that you could bring to that role across all of the different kind of people that he has voiced over the years. And that experience, just like Dan Castellaneta, like it works. It just works.
I really like. I mean, I've been watching Futurama now. I'm quite new to it, so I'm like discovering his work. But then, like when I go to Comic-Con, he's there. he'll have like the board where there's like 100 characters behind him of who he's played. Like, I know all like loads of them, and it's incredible seeing that. Again, it's more of, I guess, I think for voice actors, right? They're like the most underappreciated actors because you never see their faces. And I think so few people realize like how hard a job it is and like how talented they are to do all those things. A lot of them can do it on command, which is also incredible.
Yeah, this is interesting because I mean, it's someone that I wouldn't have thought of, but he's like it's kind of like the thing that I want to see the most. I really want to hear what his Yoda would be. Like, I had a similar thought in terms of I actually thought Tom Kenny is a potential voice actor, but I think, and it's more for Spyro the Dragon for me, but I know so many people know him as SpongeBob, and I was like, I couldn't imagine him. All I could think of is Yoda sound like SpongeBob. So now in my head, I'm thinking of Yoda sounding like Bender, which just seems amazing, even though that obviously wouldn't happen. But no, I think based on DiMaggio's like career, he's absolutely got enough, experience in transforming his voice and doing different types of roles. So yeah, I can agree for sure for him.
Very quickly, what are your thoughts on Andy Serkis mocapping Yoda?
I'd like to see the behind the scenes of him trying to be 2 foot tall. That's all I'd say. I mean, he can do Gollum, right? So he's kind of almost there-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to watch the behind the scenes of him actually doing it. I don't really actually want to see the final product, though.
It'd be like...
If you want a cut. Oh, he got cut.
Yeah.
It's how it works. You just cast him and everything. He'll turn up. And partnering Yoda, we have Mace Windu, obviously played by the legendary Samuel L. Jackson, who's, let's be honest, just playing himself in this film. And there's nothing wrong with that. So who have we got for Sam Jackson for Attack of the Clones? Going to go with Sam as usual.
Okay, so this might be the most controversial choice in this, and I would like to just, before I say it, I'm very much, the person who says if someone is cast, either because of a certain, sex or gender, to stick with it. I hate a gender swap when there's no reason to. There's no actual logical in-universe reason to do so. But in this, I think because Mace Windu is kind of not a blank slate, but we don't really get too much of what his character truly is, apart from that he believes that he's a Jedi who's fights for the Republic, and he's just has that type of thing, and he's a great warrior. And that's really, for me, all I know Mace Windu was. So I decided, because I couldn't think of an actor to replace Samuel L. Jackson. How do you do it? How do you replace Samuel L. Jackson? So I decided to actually change and have the actress Denai Guerrera. So we have another Walking Dead alumni here, also well known from Marvel as well at this point. I think she's an amazing actress. I think she's absolutely so good at everything. She's good at, the emotional side. She was in, I think, a good, 7 seasons of The Walking Dead. And so you spend a lot of time with her character in it. And I think she's so multifaceted. And I think at the same time, she's also a fighter. She carries a samurai sword and a katana, and she uses that a lot. So I think in terms of action, she can do that, wonderfully. And I just think it would be interesting to just have another, female character in the film, just because there's not really anyone. I mean, I know the joke's been there about Star Wars having like a lack of females, and although we have, more females in this film because of, the Jedi, but they're just background characters, really. We don't get any form of interaction. I think that's a really important thing, and I think Mace Windu is a character who's important enough, but not so important that I feel like a change like this would hurt it. I think it would actually be very beneficial, and I think it would make the character a bit more grounded, because Samuel L. Jackson's just got such a just such an aura about him, and everyone knows him from sort of like the crazy extreme parts that he's been in, and films that he's been in. So I just think Denai would just add a sense of gravitas and really just bring it a bit more down to earth, and I think make me like the character a bit more. So yeah.
I think it's the best, if I'm going to be blunt. I know we've not read out the others yet, but when you messaged this to me, I was like, wow, like it's so perfect. And again, I've not seen Walking Dead. I know she's in it a lot. I know you mentioned one of my friends has said it when we met her events and stuff. And I'm going with what I've mentioned, which is like Black Panther, but the presence she has for a supporting role in that series as well, I'm going to say, to the point she's been in Infinity War with him to the final moments. I can just picture a purple lightsaber just chopping Django Fett's head off, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. And I know it's so much more. Like they said, she's not actually the most developed character. Like we don't really get a lot from him. It's just essentially his arc is that he mistrusts Anakin, and he's like the most powerful Jedi, but we never see it. But he's powerful because he's Sam Jackson. That's kind of the logic of Mace Windu at the moment. But I absolutely love this. I think it's perfect casting. And I think it's kind of what he says as well. Like Star Wars didn't really have female Jedi, and most of them just, Aayla Secura, I never really liked or cared for, and she gets that ridiculous, stupid death and attack. She falls to the floor and just pretends to die. I just always laugh at it. I don't know why, but it's so weird, that death. Anyway, sorry, that's a really random side piece.
No, I think this pick is amazing. I really do, and kind of watching her, what she's been in previously and stuff like that, you can just immediately see it. And not only that, but when I first kind of thought about, oh, okay, so if you're kind of changing the gender of the role, I kind of thought about it for like a few seconds and kind of mulled it over, and actually just putting her in there, it's just like, yeah, that's such an obvious choice. Like it's such a very, very obvious choice, and it would absolutely work. And Star Wars does need kind of a female in the spotlight Jedi at this point in the franchise, I think. We've got a lot of powerful male Jedis, and we've got a lot of powerful male characters coming through. And really, for the prequels, we only really have Padme, and then I guess you could also possibly say Shmi, but she's really just a background character kind of throughout most of it. So you do need another presence in there, and I think this is the absolute perfect role for that. And I think this is a really, really good pick.
Yeah, and I just think, just adding quickly, I think a lot of actual Star Wars fans will have seen more of the media, either seen Clone Wars, either versions of the show, read comics, whatnot, get the action figures. So I was very well aware of Aayla Secura, Shakti, Luminara, Yaddle. There's female Jedi there, and because of that, you kind of feel that there is a lot of female characters in there. But when coming onto this, I realized, wow, even compared to Phantom Menace, it really seems to have more. And I think it's just important to at least have, one, you get Yoda, Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi alongside, Anakin and Obi-Wan, and they're like the core Jedi. And I just think slotting, Denai Guerrera in there, I think it would just add to that dynamic even more, and just make it a bit more interesting.
Yeah, no, I think you're right with that. And I think it is a fantastic point to be said. And again, Goffrey said that the gender swapping earlier, when you bring in people that can actually act and work to it, and it's Mace Windu's role is so not defined, but again, there's not much to it. And the grand scheme of things, it's not actually an important role. He is a Jedi that's just there to die, but Sam Jackson wanted to play him. And I think that's why he had such a big moment when you get down to it, purple lightsaber, all that stuff. So, yeah, going off my one, it's not as good as that. Now, I had Idris Elba originally, and I backed out on this. I thought it's too obvious, it's too easy. He can play the gruff Jedi with a purple lightsaber, killing people, but I feel like Idris Elba's, let's give him a break. I'd rather have him in something else in Star Wars. So I went for Mahershala Ali, who is slowly becoming one of my favorite actors, if I'm being completely honest. I think he's phenomenal at everything he's in. And the reason I went for this is more to the fact that, not the fact he looks fucking cool, because he does, but you can't replace Sam Jackson being himself. So you want to bring on someone that has a bit of gravitas. Is it a better actor? Is really horrible and unfair to say, but Mahershala Ali is, I think, one of the best working actors at the moment, and he's about to be Blade, so we're about to see him with the sword killing people. Whether it's a tame Marvel version, we don't know yet. But he's now been cast as Blade, and I just think I could see him rocking up and just dominating in Jedi robes and going, and that'll be fine for this for me. And I think when you get the acting scenes, mainly a bit more in Revenge of the Sith, I think you'd be able to give it a bit more of a performance than just the sort of intensely stares and begrudges Anakin.
I could easily see him doing the "Take a seat, young Skywalker" line. Like I could easily see him doing that line. I know it's further down the line, but still, like, I think, yeah, I can see it, especially with the sword training coming in soon with the new Blade film. I could easily see it, and he is also just a fantastic actor in general. I feel like he'd bring his own uniqueness to the role, maybe a little bit softer than Samuel Jackson's quite kind of like full on all the time kind of presence.
Yeah, I think the thing about him, he's very visually striking, and I think it's interesting to have that because I think it makes the character of Mace when he needs to be intimidating. I think it would really add to that, and I think especially like his introduction at the arena on Geonosis, I can imagine him actually being there and doing that scene and completely taking over, which is what Samuel L. Jackson does. But he can do that because he's Samuel L. Jackson. But I think he could do this in a completely different way, but it's still as effective. So yeah, I would be interested in that.
So with my pick, the whole kind of I broke down the character of Mace Windu, and first of all, you've got to have that badass motherfucker energy. That's just something that needs to be there. It has to be there. Which all of our picks, I'm glad to say, they do have in buckets. And then I kind of went down into it. I thought I need someone who pushes the boundaries of kind of what it means to be a Jedi and almost not walks the line, not kind of like towing the line between how far can you go before it becomes kind of like teetering over towards kind of dark side energy. But I wanted someone who was a bit crazier. And on reflection, I feel like he'd be a lot better as Saw Gerrera. But I've gone with Jamie Foxx because I mean, okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think he does bring that similar kind of energy to Mace Windu as Samuel L. did. Like, I think Jamie Foxx has had such a good career and he's done so many different roles, and he's been brought back into the Disney family recently. So you'd hope that he'd stick around a bit longer to kind of play off this kind of role. But you could easily see him shaving off his head and going for that and literally doing kind of the same role. You could see him keeping his hair and also pulling out that same energy. But once again, the more I think about it, Saw Gerrera, absolutely that manic kind ofness that he would have in that role. You can play it either way here.
I think it'd be fine as not Sam Jackson as Mace Windu. Yeah. As you mentioned, like you got to break it down into what the character is past the cool stuff, and I think he does have it. So I think it'd be great. And you mentioned the Disney stuff. I thought he was really good in No Way Home. I mean, for someone that's meant to play that same character, he kind of got a complete switch to go and do something new, which I enjoyed. And he's got charisma.
Yeah, that's the really important thing. I think Jamie Foxx, again, like I think he's quite underrated. I think he's very good. I think he's very good at showing those different elements. And I think he's done super serious, and then he's done lighter, and he's done hero, he's done villain. He really has those different layers that I think are needed to make up Mace Windu, because I think Mace he's a good guy, but he's not necessarily good. He isn't like the hero that everyone's rooting for. And I think in a way he needs to have a layer where you could see him as a villain, where it kind of maybe is partially understandable why anyone would want to go against him and the Jedi. And I think Jamie Foxx could do that. I actually, again, another answer that I wouldn't have thought of, but I think he actually could do it. And I think, again, he actually could do a very good Saw Gerrera as well. So I think either choice would be brilliant.
No, definitely. And with Mace done, we've got 2 more Jedi to do, but we'll kickstart with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously, again, me and Tayte did this previously. At least we get to bring the Jesus Jedi picture. So I went with Alexander Skarsgård, obviously been in the Northman, many other things. And Tayte went with James McAvoy, which is superb. But to round out the beginning of the trio, I guess we could say, Sam, who is your Obi-Wan Kenobi for this film?
So of course, this is one of 2 characters that I had multiple different actors to be them. I think I first had Andrew Garfield, and I thought no, too well established. Then I went with Richard Madden, and I was like, again, too well established. But I think part of it was the Scottish element there as well. So I ended up thinking, who else? And this wasn't meant to be a running theme. I do have another Walking Dead actor, but I think he's been in enough other stuff to actually kind of be a similar level to kind of like a Ewan McGregor at the time, and that's Tom Payne. Tom Payne is, I think, a bit older than Ewan when he was playing Obi-Wan, but I think it would actually bode well. I think Tom Payne is, visually, he looks so different. He's had short hair and no beard, and he looks a certain type of way. He grows his hair, he has a beard, he looks completely different. And I think that's excellent for the evolution of Obi-Wan. So I could totally see clean shaven, short hair Tom Payne as Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace, and I can see him actually, visually looking like what we know and love as Obi-Wan. But as well, I think he's an excellent actor. He's, because of his background in The Walking Dead and I think in other stuff, it was actually said by someone today that he was in Waterloo Road, and I've never seen it, but I thought that was just a funny thing to add. But yeah, he does a lot of action in The Walking Dead, and he's very, kind of athletic in it. And yeah, I'm sure there's probably, stuntmen as well doing that too. But I think he has enough experience, similar to Denai, because of that show, to actually bring that to other roles. And I think he's actually very, very likable, and he can be very funny. And we absolutely need that for Obi-Wan, especially for the meme content. So I absolutely believe that he could kind of channel kind of the essence of what Ewan McGregor did, and then make it his own and make it for this point in time.
So I'd not seen much he's in. However, doing all the photos for this, I got to see like the insane amount of haircuts that he's had, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because obviously when you think of it, it's like the juxtaposition of Kenobi haircuts across the films are quite wild. I don't think any other characters had as many or as good cuts as that, and based off the photos, I think there's something in the eyes, and I don't ever think Ewan McGregor's like had these like dazzling eyes like a Daniel Craig or something in Bond, but there's just this like presence that comes with them. I know that sounds really weird, but I hope that makes sense to people at home.
No, and you literally picked Jesus to play Jesus, so that's always a positive. But it's another person who was in, I think, only one episode of Skins, but they were in Skins. But I actually, I was trying to pin where I'd seen him before, so I never actually watched. I never watched through that far in The Walking Dead to get to his character being introduced. But he was in Waterloo Road, which I did used to watch. And I do remember him from Waterloo Road, and it's nice to see that his career has kind of expanded out into American TV, and that he's still going. And he does very much look the part, and I think it's a good choice as well.
No, definitely. And with Kenobi in mind, we're going to move on to, I guess, saving the main event. This is the relationship film, the big two. We've got Padme and Anakin. Now, Tayte has the same Padme as before, so Olivia Cook. Of many different shows and films. I think the new Game of Thrones series they've already announced it's going to get a season 2, so very confident. And obviously,
although she's the main character, so she might be killed off series 1.
Oh, that's a good point. You can't rule out. And then with mine in Phantom Menace, I had Joey King, and the whole thing there was the anti-Millie Bobby Brown by Millie Bobby Brown being the actual decoy. And I was going to recast her with Anakin for the sequel. So, Sam, before we get to mine, do you want to say who your Padme actress is?
Yeah, so this was another one where I was really unsure of which direction to go in. And, I'd seen, I was so close to putting Jenna Ortega in there because I absolutely loved her in Scream. And I think, she's got a great career ahead of her, but I just thought she was a bit too young for the role. And so I was kind of looking about, and I ended up choosing Natasha Liu Bordizzo, an Australian actress as well. So it would kind of fit with what we were saying before about, kind of where some of these actors could come from. And what I really like about this actress is I've only really seen her in one major thing, which was the Society, which was a Netflix show that came out, I think in 2019, and it was supposed to get a season 2, but because of COVID, it was one of the many shows that got renewed but then cancelled because of it, which was a real shame, because I think some of the actors in that show were quite young, so late teens, early to mid-20s, and she was very good at the dramatic elements of this show, and I really felt for her character, and I really, basically the show is because of all these young people kind of like trapped. I'm not going to go into a full synopsis or anything. You kind of like, how do you deal with being on your own and without any adults and stuff? And I think it kind of makes me think of Padme, because she was put in such a position at such a young age where she had to kind of fight for a planet, essentially. And we're at a point now where she's matured, but is still in a position of power. But she's still so young as well. And I think Natasha has a real good sense about her. And I think she could absolutely do the dramatic scenes justice. I think she's a beautiful, beautiful actress as well. And And yeah, I'd just be really happy to kind of like see her in that, and I think she would look good with the person that I've chosen as Anakin as well. So yeah, I think not very well known, but I think could potentially become a big star.
So I've not seen her in anything, but again, like when the list came over, it is that like different take of okay, like you can see it, and it's even in the presence of appearance. If you've not seen roles, it's you see the politician, because again, she technically is one, not queen anymore, which is a really weird Star Wars thing. But then it's the whole being a senator, and can she hold her own in action as well? I know she's been in the sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, so that there's going to be action covered there, and I think it looks great off the photos. I mean, obviously, when we get to Anakin, we'll be able to see the whole list combined, and yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
I've seen her in Guns Akimbo, to which I remember her being quite a kind of fun, light character, kind of very high energy and stuff like that, but also has a soft side. So I think that casting works for me. I do want to see your Anakin, though, as well, to see who you pair up, but from the Padme side of things, I like it. It works.
And with my one, I've gone for an actress who hype's not too big for it. Don't mean height as well. I mean stature. But giving away an actress with big height, it's none other than Elizabeth Debicki. Now, this is one which I really not struggled with a Padme. I almost went with Elizabeth Olsen, but I was like, no, this is just Doctor Strange bias out my head. For who I've cast as Anakin, it's about the duo for me. It's that believable relationship. And I think Elizabeth Debicki is one of the up-and-coming stars. Obviously, Tenet's a big one. I think she's playing Diana in The Crown. I'm sure she'll get all the major acclaim once that series is out for the final season or 2 seasons. I don't know how far they're going to get up to with it. But again, I'm looking at that vibe of can she do action? Yes, we've seen Tenet. Can she be the politician? And I think she 100% can. As I said, we've seen her in so many films over the years. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, she's the gold people. Even going back to Baz Luhrmann's last film, Great Gatsby, she's sort of in that when she's younger. And I think if you can get the brunette hair on her in this, I think she's the perfect Padme. And again, because I'm aging up, not massively, but they're a similar age to the actor who I've gone with for Anakin, it kind of creates that matching duo for me where they've got to be believable as a couple. And when Anakin's said and done, I think that might make more sense.
I really hope your Anakin's like 7 foot tall. Just
he's smaller. I did check. Not that it matters, but I did check out of curiosity.
That's fine. We could have made Anakin a short king. That would have been fantastic. But no. No, Elizabeth Debicki, as far as her acting quality is concerned, she is absolutely fantastic for this role. You could easily see her playing the regal character, playing the politician, playing the fighter as well. There's so much you could go in there, and she's got a lot of stuff coming up as well. She has a big, heavy slate, but all of the stuff is all positive. It's all going in the right direction. It's not like she's taking on lesser roles or anything like that. But if you look at kind of what's coming up for her, like she's got a Guardians film coming out, she's got The Crown, she's got it's all looking good going forward, and I think she's got such a solid career now ahead of her. Is she too big for the role? I don't think so. I still think a lot of people don't know who she is, but if you put her into this role, a lot of people would.
Yeah, I was actually surprised about how much she's actually done. I hadn't realized how many different types of film that she and very well known films as well. The only thing I have seen her in was The Great Gatsby. And although she's not, she's not got, the biggest role in that. I think she definitely made her presence known. And I think she's very good. I think she was very good in doing the character, giving a bit of attitude, which I think Padme needs. She has this side of, being very formal. She's, very, to fit with the political stuff. But when she needs to switch and actually turn to, become action orientated, I'm thinking, more specifically, like when she says to Anakin, I'm going to help Obi-Wan. So if you need to protect me, you're going to have to come with me. I think she absolutely could do that. Physically, she looks like she could do that as well. She looks like she could, dress in these elaborate costumes and, make them work for her. Yeah, it's kind of exciting that pick, actually. I'd be very intrigued to see that Padme.
I'd just like to see her in Star Wars, to be fair. I think she's fantastic. And she's got that presence where she just fit in the universe on the spot.
Yeah.
But we're heading into our last one. We're saving the most important role to last, Anakin Skywalker. Especially for this film, you have the recasting from Jake Lloyd into Hayden. So To end this all off, who have each of us got? Sam, your Anakin Skywalker.
Okay, so I went with an unknown, really, for me. I think he's starting to do more stuff, and I think I can't remember the name of the show that he's in right now. But I think it's becoming a long running series. I think it's based off books, and it's an actor called Yosha Stradowski. I believe he's got. Well, I think partially it was a lot on the look. I think he has a really well balanced look. He's quite big, so you could kind of believe that he's been training to be a Jedi. But I think from his face, he looks like he could give off those emotions of kind of still being youthful, kind of development out of childhood, adolescence, and have that element to him, but then as well have this serious, more mature look. And I think it's something that, again, he would be in Revenge of the Sith, and I think you could totally see the growth there as well. I've seen him in one short film, which I think is called like Boys on Film 13 Trick and Treat. It's part of a series, I think, but he gives off a bit quite an emotional performance there. I would say it's not totally overt, but it's there. And I think a lot of it is down to the face. And I think with Anakin being so important, you really need to get, kind of like how he speaks and how he looks correct. Because if you don't believe in that character, he is the key that holds it all together. And I think, similar to kind of like a Hayden Christensen, I kind of wanted someone who was not well established, so there would not be that pressure of, oh, this guy could, blow his whole career or something. I think Yosha has kind of got enough of a balance, enough work there to prove that he should do that. Probably a bit more background than Hayden did. And I think he could kill it. I think he'd be so good at it. And I think him next to Natasha, I think they make such a great looking couple. And I think based on their backgrounds and because they're both quite new and fresh to kind of like, to widespread, audiences and stuff, I think it absolutely could work as a relationship on screen as well.
So it's interesting because I've not seen anything. I know it's in Wheel of Time, which is a new Amazon show, is
yeah.
It's like Amazon's Game of Thrones or something. People keep calling it. I don't really follow it. I know it's got a big reputation in the books, and when you sent it over, I was like, okay, I'm quite curious to see what it looks like. He actually looks like Hayden and Chris Henson when he's younger, and it's like, as you said, he's more well built. He's as I said, the unknown angle comes into it, and he's a little bit older than Hayden was, which I think works a little bit better for where he's meant to have been and whatnot. And I really like it again, and it's kind of what you want, unknown. And I think fair play to Lucas for obviously doing that originally back in 2002, that you get this unknown kid into play Anakin, because he's going to grow into that role across obviously the in-between and obviously Revenge of the Sith.
No, I mean, as soon as you showed the photo, it was like, wow, that's an absolute spitting image. But I mean, it looks like he's got a promising career ahead of him if he's attached to Wheel of Time, because I've been hearing really good stuff about it. He's fifth billing on that, so he's actually got a reasonably good role in there. So yeah, I can easily see it. And yeah, it'd be nice also to have an unknown in that role once again, if that was possible.
Yeah, and I definitely didn't type in Hayden Christensen lookalikes on Google or anything like that. I definitely did not do that. It was just kind of like a nice kind of like, oh, that just so happened. This person just so happens to look like Hayden. And I was like, okay, let's take a look at what he's done. Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it. Again, it is a reboot as well. It absolutely works in its favour. I took a weird approach to mine. So obviously I've got Alexander Skarsgård playing the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And obviously, you get to Revenge of the Sith, unbelievable film, and then you get to You're My Brother, Anakin. And I thought, why not literally do it? So I've cast Bill Skarsgård as Anakin, which is actually, to me, perfect, because you look at that photo, that is a dark person. Like, yes, we've seen it. He plays Pennywise the Clown. He has killed younglings in that universe. But I think he has that innocent but sinister look, and I know the logic of Anakin is this: look at this golden boy turned to the dark side. I like the fact there's a bit of darkness in him, and in this film more so than Phantom Menace, you've got the whole Tusken Raiders, you've got the killing them, you've got the romance. I think Bill Skarsgård would be perfect to grow into that role again. And when you get to that duel episode 3, you've got the literal brothers fighting each other. I think it'd be great. But I just think he has that sort of twisted look. And he's taller than Elizabeth Debicki, which is actually one of, not again, not that it matters to me, but I was like, is he taller than her? Like, I know Pennywise was big, but was that like, effects? But no, he's a very tall guy.
So there are parts of this that I like and parts of this that I really don't like. And I know it's a reboot from hell, so it works even if I don't agree with the pick. But I feel like it's a bit too on the nose. He just looks from the roles that he's done before, I can't see anything innocent in him. I can't see him being that golden boy. I can't see him falling in love with someone like Elizabeth Debicki and having that relationship on screen and stuff like that. I could easily see him with the brother relationship, and I could see him being kind of almost like the younger brother kind of role in the Anakin Obi-Wan relationship. But at the same time, I just can't see him playing Anakin.
Yeah, I'm in a mixed bag here because I think it could look really jarring as they are actual brothers to see them together, that they look too alike, or that would be in people's minds and watching it, and you couldn't really, take it seriously. However, I can see him doing obviously the very serious, darker stuff extremely well. I think he actually could, in a way, play the more innocency type of role. I think he could do it. I think he's got the chops to do it. I think because it has been made, if it hadn't been made, I think people would not have these, preconceptions of what this actor can do. But I think that's fair play to him because he's done so well with that. But I think that could affect how we look at him here. So although I would watch it, I would watch this film if he was Anakin, I would still have it in the back of my mind. I don't know.
To the smile.
But an extremely interesting choice.
Yeah. Would you like a balloon, Tusken Raider?
It'd be great. I think it'd be great. I think he's the Scars. I mean, I should have just put Stellan Skarsgård's Emperor, shouldn't I? And just had all of them in there.
Go for it.
He's going to be in. He's going to be in. I'd still watch it, wouldn't I?
Scars Wars.
Skarsgård's taking over.
Scars Wars, absolutely do it.
They're everywhere. Literally, if anyone's seen The Northman, you've seen the final duel. We all know that's basically Mustafar.
Now there are 2 of them. Now there are 3 of them.
So
is there like 5 though? Sorry,
there's a lot of Skarsgård.
There's a lot of them.
I know of definitely 4, but there probably is more.
How many?
And I think there's one that I think there's one that isn't related to them but has the name Skarsgård as well. I think it's the one that
are there? There are 8
I think
siblings.
Is it Bill?
8?
Is it Bill Skarsgård? He was in the Batman, and he's not related to them, but he's got the surname, which is just fantastic. But yeah.
So there were 3 apparently not in show business.
Soon.
Well, two of them aren't old enough yet to have established careers, and one of them's just taken a different.
It's like the other Hemsworth.
Skarsgård is the Skarsgård daughter. She became a model, so she might go to filming. But funny. Yeah. So in my first casting, I went with Finn Wolfhard, and if you Pokemon Evolution Finn Wolfhard, you end up with Timothée Chalamet. That is just who you end up with. He is just that is the steps there. Across his career, he's done softer roles, he's done romance roles, but you look at Dune, and I know that Dune's original character has a link to Luke and the original Star Wars. You could easily see that with Timothée Chalamet as a kind of younger, rawer kind of version of Anakin who has been told his entire life that he's the chosen one. It's like if Harry Potter went wrong. Like, he's been told all the time, you're the chosen one, you're the chosen one, you're going to save us, you're the chosen one. And at what point does he get too arrogant with that as a character? That's what I've always seen Anakin as. He's been pushed in one direction so hard that he gets the secret whisperings from Palpatine coming in as well, and he just turns, he goes sour. And you could see that with Timothée Chalamet's character. He has that inherent darkness to him, like a dark prince. And I think that's what Anakin's role is. And you could easily see him act the shit out of the scenes that he's put in.
It's weird with Chalamet because I think he's becoming his own franchise. That sounds really weird, not because of Dune, but how old is he? Like 24, 25? His filmography is insane.
He's 26 actually.
26. Okay, he's older than me. I'll take that.
Yeah.
But with Shyamalan, like he's so versatile, you can see him do it easy. But like with me, it's so hard to shake Paul from Dune. From like, I guess it's a bit like it with Bill Skarsgård. That Paul is like going to be him now. Soon Willy Wonka. Soon every other Johnny Depp role that's going to have been in existence. I think he's Edward Scissorhands in a TV show once. Yeah, I think he'd smash it though. But he would work, I think, pairing wise with Olivia Cook as well.
I think in terms of acting, could absolutely kill it. I think, I first saw him in Call Me by Your Name, and he carries the film. He does emotion so well. So I think every single character beat that Anakin needs in terms of emotion, I think he could do it flawlessly. My only potential concern is the physicality more so, and the physical intimidation. I've not seen Dune, so I don't know if there's anything added there. And I'm less worried about this, but I would be more worried about Revenge of the Sith. And if he's in that, he's going to be the one. It's him becoming Darth Vader. It's him going into that suit. And I don't know if I necessarily believe it at this point in terms of how he is. Because to me, he's like small twink boy, essentially. He's, the first time starting this channel, probably not the last now. But it's I think acting wise totally there. Not sure about physicality, but I think he could get the essence of Anakin and do that.
I see where you're coming from that with him. I think Dune, he gets something to do, but he's still quite dweeby. But if he could put the muscle on, I think I'd be the same view, Sam, that he could do it. He's just got to really
We'll see it in part 2. It's fine. We'll see it in part 2.
Yeah, he's got 3 years to do the Clone Wars and get shredded. But that being said, that is going to round out our Reboot from Hell, Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary. I know it's been a little bit longer than Phantom Menace was, but it's anniversary, so there's nothing wrong with that. And what I'm going to bring up everybody's picks on screen. So obviously we have Sam's up here, which has his complete casts. Which when you get the group photo, I think it makes everything so much more believable. You can see like the pairings, Anakin and Padme. You got Palpatine and Dooku, and those little things that all come together. So we've got Sam's there. We'll now bring up my one as well. And again, it's just seeing those duos. Kenobi looks perfect. The Yoda and Mace one's quite underrated as well, I think, if you see everyone's together, because they are like a sort of kind of Star Wars duo, but only because they're the two Jedi that everybody actually gets to spend time with. That isn't Anakin and Obi-Wan in this trilogy. But yeah, so that is going to do it for Reboots from Hell. I don't really know how to do these outros for still. A big thank you to everyone for watching it, both of you for sending in submissions as well. Sam bringing you back on the channel to get up Star Wars stuff, which is always good. I don't even know. Next up, I guess we could say, Tate, is Revenge of the Sith, Monday the 23rd of May. And now, obviously, it pretty much has the same cast, so that's going to nullify me and Tate by General Grievous. But we will have some more people on for that one, so you will be able to get some more opinions that aren't just going to be us two saying we've already done it. So we look forward to that Monday, the 23rd of May. Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith Reboots from Hell, rounding out the prequel trilogy, the week of Kenobi. All the hype is there, but please do comment your thoughts. Who you want to see cast in Attack of the Clones? Who would your versions be? Anything you agree with us? Anything you disagree with us? Comment them below. We'll come back to them and have a look at them. So please do that. And Tate, where can the people find us for what videos might be coming up soon?
You can find us everywhere. So go on to Twitter at cinema_savvy, go on to Facebook, that is just Cinema Savvy, and go on to letterboxd.com/cinema savvy. Also go down into the link in the description and pick up a t-shirt or a jumper from TeePublic.
Definitely. And what I'm going to say about Twitter, I don't normally say this. This week of all the weeks is the week to follow us on Twitter, turn on notifications, because this Thursday there may be a very, very, very special Twitter thing happening. And when I can share more information, I will. And I'm not underestimating or underselling how big this thing could be. Even Tate doesn't know. I've not told him yet. So it's a surprise for him as well. So honestly, if I'm being honest and I'm holding it in from exploding, follow us on Twitter right now, because you won't regret it at 6 p.m. on Thursday. Aside from that, we've got a lot of other things happening on the channel. Of course, the Steven Spielberg retrospective is happening. Our review for Twilight and the movie's coming up. Without putting down our own content, Tate was a very awkward review, behind the scenes stuff, everything that happened. It wasn't good. So we're just going to politely say come back for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom on Tuesday, the 24th of May. That's a lot funner, and it's really grim. If you know about the Twilight of the movie, then you obviously know what we had to talk about. And there's a lot of Top Gun stuff happening this week. Going to review on the original this Wednesday, coming this evening. Not this evening, this Wednesday, sorry, that was recorded with Dave. And then there'll be a review for Top Gun Maverick this Thursday, coming before the release. So if you're a fan of Top Gun, Tom Cruise, the 80s, again, we got Chris McQuarrie mentioned this, we've got a lot of Mission Impossible stuff mentioned today. Please do check them out. I hope you enjoy them. But aside from that, Sam, we've got a link for you in the description below. Without sounding weird, why should people follow you? You're not just a fan of Star Wars or Spider-Man. I know you're a big Bond fan as well. I've been jumping on a few podcasts recently.
Yes, so I talk about anything. I will go from talking about Star Wars to James Bond to Pokemon to random different types of things to RuPaul's Drag Race. I will talk about it. I have so much love for so many different types of media, so many different types of shows, films, and yes, occasionally I do some articles for License to Queer, talking about some James Bond stuff. I have. Sometimes do some guest hosting on Really 007 podcast as well. I know I'm doing something on that coming up, which is exciting. So I would keep a lookout on that. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that I'm hoping to be doing. So here, there, and everywhere. And anytime I can, support Cinema Savvy as well, it's amazing. It's a great thing to do. So thanks, guys, for having me. And I look forward to seeing what happens on the Revenge of the Sith episode.
No worries. Again, it's always a pleasure to get you on, especially as well talking stars. I know you're a big fan of the prequel generation, as we keep calling ourselves. So I said, everybody follow Sam on there. From us, thank you all for watching, for following this again. It's Star Wars Month, a lot more videos on the way. There might be a Kenobi predictions video out later this week as well. More details would be on our social medias, but as I keep saying, 6 p.m. Thursday, our Twitter feed. So thank you all for watching. I'll leave it cryptic there and join us on the next one. Take care.
Bye.